Hello, and welcome to The Money Trench, the music industry podcast with me, Mark Sutherland. Thanks to everyone who came down to our latest TMT Tuesday showcase last week, and there were a lot of you, and we hope you survived Divers Week and everything that comes with it. Now it's time to get back to business with another deep dive into the music industry. The Money Trench is supported by SoundOn. SoundOn is TikTok's all-in-one music distribution and promotion platform for artists and labels. Go to soundon.global to find out more and check out the SoundOn Track of the Week in the TMT newsletter. And the Money Trench is also supported by Tixel, the honest ticket exchange and waitlist, helping artists own their audience and protect fans from touts. Go to tixel.com to find out more and check out the Tixel Gig of the Week in the TMT newsletter. And we support Earth%, the music industry's climate foundation. Check earth%.org to find out more. And this week, we're joined by a true titan of the modern music biz. He's one of the most successful music publishers of recent times, with triumphant stints at EMI Music Publishing and Sony Music Publishing, and he's signed and worked with songwriters from Amy Winehouse and Ed Sheeran to Arctic Monkeys, Drake, Ray and Bruno Mars, as well as safeguarding the catalogues of David Bowie and George Michael. Now the co-chair and CEO of Warner Chappell Music and the winner of this year's MITS Award. Please welcome the one and only Guy Moot. Hello, Guy.
Hi, how are you? Good to see you.
Welcome to the show. How's your music week been? Or should I say, how's your football week been? As we're talking the day after Arsenal finally won the league.
Quite a night, but luckily I didn't go to the Emirates last night, so I still have a voice. A little croaky still. But yeah, it's been a pretty incredible couple of weeks, actually, with the Mets and also then Arsenal winning the league, of course, last night. So.
Okay. I won't ask you which is the greater honour, we're talking before the Ivors, but I'm guessing you're here for sort of Ivors week and everything that goes with it.
Yes, Ivors week, and we had a company conference get together makes it sound like it was a social. We were talking about business. We got our European MDs into town. Very productive time. Great to hang with all of them as well. So
okay,
good.
Lots going on. But let's see what the rest of the music biz has been up to with our roundup of the latest industry headlines. And first up, Music Ally reports that Spotify has dropped its prices and revamped its tiers in some developing markets. Yes, the cost of a subscription might be going up in the UK and the US, but the streamer has removed its premium light tier in India and reduced the price of its premium standard tier and made changes in some other markets too. The moves come amongst fierce competition in India in particular. Guy, I'm guessing price rises mean more money goes to artists, songwriters, labels and publishers like yourself. So price drops presumably mean less money for those people, do they?
It does, but I think we want to see more money from those countries where there's low ARPU, if this is a way of stimulating those markets. Obviously, you've got to harness a huge population there. So I think we're seeing really touching a fraction of what the potential of the population is in some of those markets. So I'll see it as an experiment. We'll see how it comes through, but maybe it will generate more people to take up streaming. And then hopefully, as we've seen in other markets, we can upscale those people into more premium tiers as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's not so long ago, I guess, where the music industry was making very little money from some of these markets. Streaming has changed that, but key is driving up that ARPU, isn't it? How do you think they're going to do that?
I think it's key, and in a broader sense as well, making sure that there's active PROs there, that there's strong IP. It's a blend of all of those things, but I think we all talk about the potential of countries such as India, but we need to see it turn into real money as well and how you monetize that. So I kind of applaud it in a way. I think it's an interesting experiment. And once you get people on, hopefully we can then upscale them into the more premium tiers.
Yeah. Are you starting to see real money from these markets?
I think, as you read recently or heard, we recently opened in India. We believe there's huge potential there. The rights are usually signed, master and publishing at the same time. But yes, we've opened there. We've started an entity and we're seeing money. I mean, some of it is in a publishing sense, just getting the right credits so we can actually register and assign those things. And it's an education process. I think we go there and talk about the importance of publishing, the importance of getting your credits right, so we can, the very foundational end of it is actually making sure we can register songs correctly. And there's a lot of them in India. So my admin department's been very busy with huge batches. And again, there, I'm just talking about India in particular, I mean, I think some of the performance income just isn't being recognized there as well. So some of the Bollywood films and the music in films is just not, most probably certain people aren't paying there, and the society maybe isn't collecting as well as it could do. But it's an improving trajectory, and just look at the population, look at the the economy there. So we have high hopes for it.
And in general, talking about the UK and the US, the trend for pricing has gone up. Finally, after years at $9.99, there has been regular price increases. Do you want to see more of that? Is that good news for the music industry?
I think we're always pushing for that. It seems to happen in the in the world of VOD and streaming services on TV. Obviously, you've got to get that price point correct, but music is incredible value. I mean, I've lived with this most of my career. I mean, when people are complaining about a CD, I mean, you can't buy a drink in a pub for the price of what a CD used to be. So I think we're passionate about it. It's incredible value when you've got all of that money, music at your fingertips. So I think there's definitely scope for further price rises. But of course, we've got to work closely with our DSP friends over there to make sure that the pricing is correct and that we can all live in one ecosystem. So.
Yeah. I would definitely sign up to unlimited drinks for $9.99 a month, by the way. But sadly, I don't think that's coming in. In the meantime, our second story comes from Music Week, which looks at a new BPI report that claims the UK could enjoy an AI licensing boom if the government acts to protect intellectual property and make AI companies more transparent. The report cites 274 deals that have been struck between creative rights holders and AI developers so far, with 77% of respondents seeing licensing music for use in AI as key to future growth. Guy, Warner Music has been doing some of those deals. Are you starting to see revenue from AI licensing?
These are very early days, but I think we will. We've made deals, and I think Warner Music Group did the right thing, and Robert Kinsell, by acting decisively to make deals with these companies. I mean, I think it sets a precedent that's really important, that people should license repertoire. They should be kind of learning off approved songs, and we're going to get songwriters and artists paid. I know it's a controversial subject, but again, I think if you look at some of the legislation around the world and some of the lobbying from big tech, I think it's a battle that is going to be hard to win in certain places, i.e. America, I think. So I think by setting a precedent, we've established a framework of licensing. We do respect artists' and writers' views on these matters. But yes, I think it's really important the industry harnesses this. I think some of the analysts and people in, the stock exchanges are kind of putting music in the AI is going to be bad for it bucket. And I actually think that it's going to be great for the music industry. I think we will see revenue from AI generated, but I think it's also going to boost the value of notable, recognizable songs, and also real artists who can connect, play live, connect with people who want tangible experiences. So overall, I think it's a good thing. And I think in the UK, I hope the government would look at this. I mean, again, they've got to look at the creative assets this country have across the board, obviously, especially the music industry, and how rich that is, and champion it and see it as an important part of what the economy is here, which, again, I don't think has happened during my long career here in terms of really looking at what the music industry contributes to the economy, employment, and everything else. So.
Yeah, and I mean, you're very close to your writers, aren't you? How do they feel about their work being used by these systems? Do you talk to them about it?
Yes, I think it's our job to explain it. I think it's our job to go out there. So I'm talking to writers. We've gone to great lengths to talk to legal firms, attorneys, lawyers. We've talked to managers. We've had open calls with them, really just to discuss. I think it's an emotive subject, and it's very easy to look in the singular. But as a publishing industry and a music industry, I think we've got to tackle these subjects and do it the right way. So, but we respect some people's wishes on the subject. And I think, in particular when it comes to, derivative works, totally understand that. But again, we need to come together as an industry to really license these companies properly and harness this area. So.
But if your artists don't want their music used by these systems, you're fine with that, are you?
We absolutely respect their wishes.
Yeah. I mean, often when I talk to songwriters, Some of them are very worried about the threat from AI. I think it could sort of force out human creative talent. Do you worry about that?
No, not at all. I would imagine some of our writers are already using AI, some artists. Now, they might not be using it. I'm not saying they're like using it totally, of course, but I think that you have to have that musical talent. You have to have a grain, even if you're using prompts. But I think sometimes, to embellish on a song, to augment a song, to finish that, I think it's going to be a useful tool. And again, you can't stop people from doing this. As publishers, we want to see as many songs of ours getting covered. I mean, that's a difficult thing. If you look at any writer's catalog or even our catalog, there'll be so many songs that don't get monetized. So if AI will allow us to kind of augment some of those songs, finish them, maybe even change language, I think there's huge possibilities there. So I don't see it detrimental. I can't actually sort of think anything. Maybe it lowers the bar of entry a little bit in terms of if you're a songwriter for other people, if you're a top liner or if you're a producer. But again, if you're a songwriter artist, you're a great place because people are going to want more and more tangible experiences. They want to go to live. They want to go to festivals. I think it will increase that.
Okay. Interesting times. And our final story comes from Music Business Worldwide, which looks at the so-called blue dot fever phenomenon that has been sweeping social media, the new buzzword to describe tour cancellations over poor ticket sales. Of course, Live Nation president and CFO Joe Berchtold has hit back, claiming the phrase has come from ticket touts wanting ticket prices to be reduced, adding, "It's a nice catchy phrase that is absolutely devoid of facts." Who knew Live Nation bosses were so sassy these days? But Guy, you're in the publishing business, but live music is still important to you, obviously. What do you make of this story? Is there a problem with touring suddenly?
I mean, it's very important for us and growing. We see it as a huge income stream in terms of live performance income. We want to make it more efficient. There's a lot of deductions along the way in terms of live performance publishing income. And I don't know. I can see the point that they're making there, that the blue dot could really diminish or bring down the price of ticket sales. But overall, I think it's a very, very healthy sector. So.
Yeah, and I don't know how much you use data in your day-to-day, but is selling tickets, that's the sort of the one metric you can't fake, right?
So I think, ticket sales, you come full circle from all of the data and analytics out there. There's nothing more real than actually ticket sales. Looking at the merch line still, I think you can see the rise of like young rock bands. It's a real metric of like, they were selling out 1,500 capacity. Now they're selling out 3,000. And also when I go to shows, I actually look at the merch line now.
Okay.
It's real and tangible. When people want to show up, they want to pay money for a ticket. I don't think there's anything still more important. And that also goes to a grassroots level.
Yeah.
So, which needs to be encouraged.
So if you're looking at signing someone, is that more important to you than whatever the streaming on social media things are saying?
It's a combo, but I would say for me, it's becoming the truth more than anything else. You can't really fake ticket sales and people having a queue or people queuing up to buy merch. We all know that there are certain forces at work in the social media sense or in the stream sense. So it's a combination of all of those. But like I say, it really corroborates that other stuff that says there's something really happening here. It's good to talk to agents and promoters and actually hear, oh, wow, now they're selling out this size of arena. And certainly some of the festivals, certain ones, I think, obviously we have people there. Or I try and go and, you really see where the crowd moves. I think that's just real, Yeah,
fair enough. Great stuff. Thanks, Guy. And don't forget, for even more music industry insights, sign up for the TMT newsletter at themoneytrench.com. But now it's time to talk to this week's guest, Guy Moot of Warner Chappell. Guy, congratulations on being this year's MITS Award winner. How does it feel to join that pantheon of great executives?
Well, I mean, honestly, it's quite a list. When I look at it, I'm like, wow. So definitely humbled and overwhelmed and excited and all of those things at one time. And of course, being the first publisher to be awarded this, I think is particularly, poignant for me, seeing the sort of development of publishing, which was somewhat in the shadows over the years, and having to explain this to multiple people externally and even internally in terms of boards. banks and shareholders and private equity during my long career. So I think it's particularly fitting. Obviously, it's all about songwriters. So something dear to my heart. I wouldn't be up there without our songwriters and some of the people I've worked with over the years. And, the charities in particular. I mean, the Brits, you just can't deny that it's been an incredible place to develop, nurture talent. I went there a couple of months ago, and you just feel the energy as you walk in. I mean, it's kind of mad, crazy, but brilliant. And really, I think they're bringing out some very rounded students as well. There's different ways you can kind of like explore your interests in music. It's not just, I want to be a star. Of course, they produce some of the UK's finest. Our own Ray, Amy Winehouse was there briefly, obviously Olivia Dean, the list goes on. But it touches a lot of people, and that's just one school. Even my nephew went there for a couple of years. I didn't realize actually until afterwards. I'm like, yeah, that's right. This is quite a long time ago. But no, it's something to be cherished, something to be encouraged. I wish there were more places like that, and not just to develop and nurture talent and songwriters, but also to there's a lot of people who find employment through that route. So as an industry, I think it's really important we sort of promote to schools like that the array of options there are in the music industry. We actually met someone working at the O2 last night who had gone through the Brit school and who was looking, he said, I'll do anything to be in the music industry. And we kind of like that hustle. Yeah. We don't mind people, and that's a great place to go through. And then I spent a morning at the Nordhoff Robbins yesterday, which, I've seen over the years at previous MITs and various award shows, and just the work they do is incredible. The power of music to reach people who have mental illness, disabilities, kids with, it's just incredible the work they do. And it kind of that, when you talk about AI and everything, there's something intangible that we all feel in music that they really amplify to some of these people, and that connection, it's like they talk to them in a different language almost, that they can understand. So
yeah, amazing stuff. And have you got a big night planned for the evening? What's
it'll be a big night. I can't give too much away. We're working on that, but great working with Dan and Toby and the whole team and the Warner Music Group team. It's a real coming together, at the end of the day. Yeah, it's great. It's lovely to receive an award, but this is all about raising money for those charities. So we'll be working hard. We've already got some people on board who have been incredibly generous and appreciative. And yeah, look, this is about the charities. It's going to be about songwriters on the night as well. So yeah, should be good.
Fantastic. Get your tickets now, people. But
tickets, tables, yeah. We're looking.
The whole shebang. Fantastic. And now you have been having a great run of success, haven't you, since you took over at Warner Chappell with Carrie-Anne Marshall back in 2019. And what do you put that success down to?
I think building a culture from really within, which we then project outwards. When we came to Warner Chappell, Carrie-Anne joined a few months before me. So I think it was a great company, but it was a bit of a sleeping giant when I joined, and maybe lacked a bit of kind of like, how should I put it, the artists that were almost like our shop window, the songwriters. So we really went about, we're not as big as some of the others out there. We believe we can sign stuff that we're just passionate, that we love, that there's a broad taste to it all. And of course, it made some changes internally. I mean, I think anytime you come into a company after other people, there's going to be some people who are like, okay, who are these guys? Or like, here's another lot. Some people are like, okay, I'm going to watch and see what happens. And some people are like, great, I've been waiting for this change. So we do make some changes. We want people to be really ambitious and passionate. Even if you're in a small territory, we want them to just be passionate about music. We're not completely driven by market share. I think market share is a byproduct of signing great people and great writers, and we had some notable successes. But again, we really want to listen to what our songwriters tell us. We want to adapt. We want to do things differently. Again, we're a little bit more nimble because we're not maybe as big as a few of the others out there. And we've come a long way, both in the results, financial results, obviously, still.
Yeah, you've doubled the size of the business, apparently.
Doubled revenue and profits, which is great. But I think more importantly, our reputation. I think when we renew an artist, when they want to stay, when they're happy, that's the most important thing for me. Because, when you renew your songwriter deals and they want to stay, it's like a health check of what you're doing, you know? So we take it very seriously. Again, we're not as big as others. I think we really do put a lot of effort and a lot of work into it. Publishing is, yes, the signing, but it really is about the daily work, whether it's putting songwriters in sessions, getting more syncs. You know, we have a department called Creative Services that amplifies our songwriters at DSPs, tells stories, talks about anniversaries. So, you know, it really is, but it's easy. I mean, it's a very complex business, but if you're passionate about the music you work with, it's like a great job. It's the best job.
Yeah, I mean, you've signed a lot of songwriters and artists since you've been there. What's the key to a successful signing for you? What do you look for in particular?
I don't know. Firstly, I mean, it's that intangible. I mean, it's the emotive of a new artist and the passion of our team. I just want all our A&R people to show passion, that they're excited about something. I mean, I might have to say no occasionally because the deal isn't right or the terms, but I want people who want to, you know, they want to die and they want to kill for these writers and they're desperate to get a deal. And then I think it's a mixture of things, but it's still not that analytical. Yes, it's important to look. I think it's not as easy as like, oh, this music's great, I'm going to sign it and it's just going to get a record deal and go to number one like it used to be years ago. You have to be aware of the culture around the artist. You have to be aware of building a base. Sometimes it's like touring. This whole process takes a long time. So it's a combination of things, really. And look, great songs, obviously. But even if the songs aren't quite there, something we can help amplify, whether that's meaning putting them in rooms with different co-writers or just amplifying them externally, whether it's to, you know, through our sync department, through games, through commercials, whatever. So I don't like to be too analytical about it. It's almost second nature when you've done it for as long as I've done it. It's almost like what feels good, what the right deal terms are, but most importantly, like excitement about the writer and their music.
Yeah. Okay. And you've also bought Warner have bought some massive catalogues.
We have bought many catalogues and we continue to now in our partnership with Bain. We just don't shout about a lot of them, and we also respect some of the wishes of people who don't want to be named.
That'll never catch on, Guy. You've got to shout about these things.
No, if they don't want to, or I respect their wishes. Not everybody wants to say they've sold their catalogue, but yeah, we have. And I think, you know, it's the great thing about publishing, because really we can do a single page admin deal, very simple, or we can do a full-blown publishing deal. We can acquire stuff. And I think that's the publishing business is got a lot more versatility in the type of deals it can offer to suit the needs of the writer. I do feel when we buy stuff, look, every catalog is different. So we have a very detailed and thoughtful plan how we add value to that. So I say it's easy to buy it, but it's not easy to grow it and tend it. And I think that's where music publishing companies such as ourselves are uniquely placed to drive value. So you look at everything, like, you know.
Is that crucial in that space? Because obviously you're up against some massive financial institutions that are suddenly very interested in buying things, aren't they?
Yeah, we work alongside some of those people as well and administrate for them. But when we look at a catalogue, we think, well, how has it been administered before? Where has it been synced? How can we develop the IP? Is there a musical? Is there a biopic? Is there going to be immersive kind of opportunities for a catalogue as we see that become more economically viable, you know, in terms of immersive kind of like shows and stuff. So I think we look through it through a lot of lenses, but the idea we just buy it, you don't just put it on the shelf, you look at everything. And I think there's a moral responsibility to these catalogues as well to do the right things, which I think music companies are best placed to do. And, you know, we enjoy them in the same passion we have for signing a new writer. You know, when you sign a catalog such as David Bowie, you're like, oh my God, it's David Bowie, you know. And again, we've worked really hard, and you have to. If you're paying top dollar for some of these catalogs, let's be honest as well, you've got to work hard to make the right returns. It's still a business, it's an acquisition. So, but yes, we're mindful of that. There's still stuff out there. We're in the running for stuff, but sometimes there's a lot of smaller stuff as well. You go, sometimes to me, it's those songs that you hear in the stadium or when you're in your Portsmouth ground at half time, you know, and those are the songs that live on, you know, so there's so many opportunities out there.
You don't want to know what the DJ plays at Portsmouth at half-time, Guy. But
what I will say, I think, there's a lot of money out there investing in catalogues and a lot of funds, but the importance of still large companies investing in new talent, that's going to be the catalogue of tomorrow. So I think as much as there's a lot of money coming into our industry, most of them won't, these funds will not go young. They won't sign new kind of talent. It's equivalent of having a hedge fund or something, but we think that that's incredibly important. We also buy younger now.
Yeah. So. Okay, nice. And so you've held a lot of senior roles before, but now CEO of a major global music company. Does that require a different skill set to the days when you were just an A&R guy? I say just, but
I mean, of course it does, but I still consider myself an A&R person. First and foremost, I don't think that's ever going to change. I grew up from talent scout, senior A&R manager. I was my manager before that, head of A&R, eventually then I MD. But along that way, I think when I got to head of A&R, I really felt it was important. I wasn't that academically distinguished, but they didn't have a lot of patience at school. It was important to learn all the other aspects of business. And I learned it from the ground up, which I think is really important. It was long. It wasn't so much music education or courses or Brit schools or whatever, that you could go to. But I think it gave me, I wanted to learn everything, not just because I wanted to become more senior within a company, but also I think writers are just more involved. If I can't talk to them about digital rates or PROs or kind of like syncs or whatever, then I wouldn't be around it executive. And also, I still loved A&R, but I also enjoy the challenge of business and learning other things and making deals and talk to, the board and finance. I've done it, but learned it kind of ground up, which I think has been valuable.
And you work with Carrie Ann, obviously, at the top of the company. How does that work? Do you do different things, or do you do everything together?
I guess when we first started, well, first of all, when I met her, they talked about doing the co-thing, and I was like, I think that's smart, because I think running a big company, it shouldn't be about the ego of one person. It should be about shared responsibility. It's a huge, responsibility, and there's always so much going on. But I was like, I think I need to meet her. I'm not sure,
Yeah, you didn't know each other, really.
We didn't know each other, but we knew loads of mutual friends who all gave us the right, health check. Yeah, they're great people, good people. And she knew good people that I knew as good people. So we met and, had a coffee, and very down to earth, She came in a tracky bottoms, all, Air Force Ones as usual. And I thought, okay, this person's down to earth. And we, over a period of a few meetings, really talked about our vision of publishing. And, she's a great, co. We've had 7 years together. I don't think we've ever fallen out or had crosswords. Doesn't mean we're not complicit either. And I think we naturally kind of dovetail and complement each other's kind of skill sets. I tend to be a bit more like, big ideas, deal maker, and not always so good on the detail and some of that stuff. And I think naturally we complement each other. I think we had a very detailed, sort of whatever you call it, job description. I don't think I've ever really looked at it since. I think we naturally kind of just get on with it.
Yeah. And Warner Music has been through quite a lot of changes since you've been there, certainly on the recorded side. Has that affected what you do?
I'm quite battle hardened. I went through EMI, don't forget.
Yeah. If
you've been through EMI, and again, publishing was really not affected. It was such turbulent times at EMI at the record company. So this it seems like a storm in a teacup. But look, people such as Max Lozada was a very, very good friend of mine. He was a good friend of mine when I was at EMI for years. I was at Max's wedding. I miss him. It's a shame not to have him around, but that was a decision that was made. Tony, again, incredible music guy. So I miss him, but I think the changes and some of the unfortunate kind of like cuts that affected more on the record side, I think, unfortunately, it's just in the record business, the record company business in evolution. I don't think we're the only person doing this. We just did it maybe more publicly and in a way that we tried to do it, the right way. I think other companies are also shedding and doing this. But yeah, I think they're in a great shape. Really enjoy working with Elliot. really enjoy working with Tom and Aaron and the UK team here. I think we're in a good shape. And I think some of those things were done at a time they needed doing, and they're sometimes unfortunate. Yeah. But I'll remain good friends with all of those people.
Yeah, I mean, there have been changes in the UK on the label side that, rightly or wrongly, have made people think that, maybe Britain's less important to the company. Is there any danger of that happening on the publishing side?
No, but I'll go back. Absolutely not. I'll go back to on the record side. That's absolutely not true. In fact, I'm privy to know that we see it, Warner Music Group, as a big opportunity to grow in the UK. So that's categorically not. I think some of the changes and the reporting line more, with more going into earlier, Tom and Aaron. I mean, I think a lot of artists in the UK want to feel if they sign to a label that they're signing to the US and the US label and UK. Not that it's controlled by, this isn't a takeover. This, I think, is more just if you're signing to Atlantic, you want to feel confident that you're going to get the support of the US label as well. And I'm not sure other labels can do that. So I was a big supporter of that change in the structure. Doesn't mean that the US is invading the UK or, I know there's more US A&R people coming here as well, but I think as long as we all work together, and I'd encourage more UK execs to get on a plane and come to America, because as a young A&R person, I knew immediately that America was going to be important, that I should know more about the American market. And I don't know, I see as many UK execs coming to the US, so we can sit here and talk like, oh wow, the Americans are coming and stealing our artists, or we can say, right, I think we all have to be a bit more international, get on a plane, get to know some of the attorneys, the agents, the industry there, and you can talk with knowledge.
You have a lot of people asking the kip on your sofa now. You said that, Guy. But how important is UK talent to what you do at Warner Chappell?
Well, I wouldn't be here without UK talent. And I mean, look, I guess we have been through a bit of a fallow period up to a couple of years ago. But everything, my UK was always, and even if it was signing international acts, actually, I had a simple thing. I drove around the UK literally in a Fiesta, going to shows all around. I then took that same principle global, ended up in Jamaica or Stargate in Norway or Romanian house music. I believe you've got to understand the culture, but the UK really, just the media landscape, the discovery, the appetite for music was what raised me. The UK here, hugely important to us, okay? I mean, it's my home at the end of the day as well. So it's very important to us. We've got a great team here. Shani, Amber, and the team are all fantastic, real music people. And yeah, I love working with them, Okay. Even though Shani can give me a rough time now and again. So.
I'm sure she can. But that's good to hear. But I guess it's been tough for UK acts to break through. But in general, it's quite hard for songwriters to make a living, right? Particularly when they're starting out these days. Seems to be harder than before. What can be done about that? Is there a way to get songwriters more revenue?
I think we talk often about the new songwriter economy. Yeah. Bit of a catchphrase, but I think writers, there's so many ways to make money. It's not just about hoping you have a huge hit or you get a song on the next Beyonce album. I think you can. Yes, of course, you can write internationally. You can write for sync. You can write for games. You can even make production music libraries. So, and I think, actually I was talking yesterday with some friends in the business just about the lack of UK top liners at the moment in terms of people who write melody and lyrics. And I'm like, why is that? And I think there's a lot of artists who, if they don't quite make it, or they get jumped, incredible songwriters that should be writing for other people. The UK doesn't really have a huge Amy Allen-like top liner at the moment, but it's got to be there. So I think, some of that is us reaching out and just educating people. There is life after your artist career or your band, for example. But again, there's a multitude of ways to make money in this business. It starts at the grassroots. It starts with music education. Like, here's the array of stuff that you can do. It starts with grassroots venues if you're a songwriter artist. So important. I think that's what America allows. You can mostly tour America with some social media presence and make a living, which is harder here in the UK and getting harder with the cost of touring, the pressure on small venues. It's the very lifeblood of what we do still.
Yeah. So given all that, would you like to see the song take a larger sort of share of the money you get from streaming?
Absolutely. I'm a publisher. But no, I mean, it's not just that, but I think I'm passionate about songwriters getting remunerated, and some of the, we're unashamed, when we negotiate with DSPs and when we negotiate with companies to get fair recompense. And it is hard making a living sometimes, We try and amplify that, but yes, we got to get the right terms and conditions. We're going into a CRB in America, you've had the
Another
Spotify, but I know they come around quick. The Spotify bundling, and we try and educate writers. And I think our biggest help and advocate to these companies are our songwriters. So we try and educate them as well about what is going on in the world out there.
Well, one of your writers, Ray, of course, has been sort of leading the campaign for per diems and master points for songwriters, etc. What do you think of that campaign?
I think she's amazing. I think she's an advocate for songwriters, and she's done it. She's been there, on her career trajectory. I was just at her show last night. It's incredible how she's developed as an artist and as a songwriter. It's just phenomenal. So I applaud her for speaking up, and we need more voices like hers in the industry, for sure. And, I think it'd be good if some of these writers actually met some of the tech bosses and some of the DSPs to really articulate what it's like on the other side as well, Yeah,
I would love to be a fly on the wall for Ray meets Daniel Ek, but let's make that happen live on the Money Trench. But okay, well let's talk about you. So as you alluded to, you left school at 16 to go and drive a tractor, right?
Yeah, I used to quite like driving a tractor actually at the time. So I did. I really left school. Look, I mean, I grew up with radio. I grew up with music. I grew up buying records. Even my tractor, I'd listen to the radio all day. And I very, very lucky. I mean, I don't think I was not bright at school. I just had a different type of intelligence, as I used to tell the teachers. So maybe I didn't have a lot of patience for academia and just retain knowledge. I want to be out in the world. But it was good. I think I've said it before. I think everybody should. It doesn't hurt to have shit jobs. It's real, And after that, it got even worse. I was a welder.
No, that
on
is
building sites, and that was really rough. Very little safety rules. The firm that I had, I was like holding RSJs 3 floors up. I used to come home covered in oil and welding. You get the arc, I mean, it was good, and I was the youngest on a building site at the time, and it's rough being the youngest on a building site. You get the piss taken out of you a lot, and it kind of like, I guess, made me tougher. You have to have an answer back. It was humor, but I'm kind of glad I went through that. It was, brown envelope with, your pay packet at the end of the week, which was usually gone by like Sunday morning.
Yeah, straight down the pub.
Yes, straight down the pub on a Friday night. Yeah, absolutely. And then I was lucky enough, I applied to get a job in a record shop. And so that was really the beginning of it. And I think that was me being an A&R person, because I was working in a shop in the Shires. It was a small chain: Banbury, Swindon, Reading, Cheltenham.
All the rock and roll centres.
I mean, the centre of culture, the Shires. But it was like A&R, because if you bought, the rep would come in. If you heard a new song, a new single coming out, go, I really like that, it's going to go, and you bought it early, you got a much better deal. And so you were selling it. So, I loved turning people on to music. So a lot of it was someone coming like, oh, what's good? And you would just be like, oh, you got to hear this. And I used to I was one of the first people to start buying 12-inch imports, which were very expensive at the time. So I had to sell them. But yeah, I knew my stuff. And I think that gave me some of the skills that I still have today. It's as simple as like, hey, you got to hear this. This is incredible. Play it,
Yeah. And then you got your sort of first proper music industry job at ATV Music in 1984, I think. Home of the Beatles catalogue, of course.
Yes, it was. I think I was only there for a brief period because Michael Jackson then bought the company. Technically, Michael made me redundant. It's okay, I got over it.
Did you have a meeting with him in which he told you to beat it?
No, that was pretty good. No, it was the man in the suit came and told us like we were all fired, actually, I remember at the time. But it was formative. That's where I joined with an empty phone book and a phone, and I didn't know anybody really. I started making some calls. I went in the back of, NME, Melody Maker at the time, started calling studios and rehearsal rooms. And then I would just roll around. I went to every town, city in the UK going, know any good bands or rehearsal rooms, gigs, local radio stations. And I built up an incredible network. And of course, you had to, there was no internet at the time. So it was a team of talent scouts. I remember when Glasgow was big, I used to be on the Glasgow shuttle like every week with the same A&R people from other companies as we went up and all went to the same gig. So, again, that was character building. You don't want to be in, a small town on a Sunday night for some show, but that's what it's all about,
Yeah, yeah. And then you after you left there, so you worked in records briefly at Chrysalis.
Briefly, yeah, I did, I guess, about a year and a half there. I didn't sign a lot. I signed Ian Brody, and it was the Lightning
That's not
Seeds.
bad.
Well, I signed him to records and we signed him to publishing, but I was working for records. So they actually dropped him at records because so I was pretty upset about that, but they kept the publishing, which went on to be very successful. So it was great. I worked next to Pete Edge.
Whatever happened to him?
I know, he did quite well. Danny D was on the other side to me. Obviously, we had a great relationship with Stellar Songs, and then him and Tim, with Tim Blacksmith. They were incredible people. Simon Fuller had just left the building at that point. But for me, I wanted to be back in publishing because I don't think my skill was making records, listening to the same record, and that wasn't something I really was good at. I'd sort of lose the thread, whereas listening to songs and discovering talent and listening to a great song, I was like, oh my gosh. And I love that you could have so much input at an early stage in the life of what would become a record, an artist's career. So yeah, I went back to SBK at that time, and then I had my first big hit was with Danny D, actually, Acid, which is still up there on YouTube.
We call it Acid.
Yeah, he doesn't like me referring to, because then people go and look at the video. He hasn't changed a bit. And then really my first really big moment was Jamiroquai.
Yeah.
So that was,
Did that change your life, signing Jamiroquai?
It kind of doubled my salary, but my salary wasn't that much at the time. But I think I was so lucky to be in London, just immersed in culture at that point. I went all through acid jazz. I went through acid house. It was like just rolling through clubland, pirate radio, and I just found myself in the sweet spot, really, and it was such a productive time. I feel blessed because, the UK now is churning out a lot of great new talent, but back then it was like it was everywhere,
Yeah.
So prolific times, both in the sense of I was doing one-offs, I was signing art. It was just, very exciting times.
And that's also where you met Marty Pandia.
Yes.
So it obviously became an important working relationship for you.
Yeah.
What was it like working with him?
He was like, I met him first, and when I joined SBK, because he was there, a man smoking a cigar, wearing braces with the shirt with his initials on, with his feet up on the desk. I'm like, oh my God, this guy just smells of money and power, but has an incredibly common touch. He actually interviewed me. But then I think he always, again, the importance of going to America, I'd always kind of hang around his office, and he was like, come in. And it's like some club crazed kid. Marty, I think, felt like he had been through clubland in the 70s. He's always talking about electronic music and reggae and dancehall, because I was signing a lot at the time. And, I think it's really important. He just took an interest in me, encouraged me, and he'd always, kind of question me on my deals, because he would approve every deal, and he'd be like, I don't know, so are you sure you're right? Then he'd approve it, and I'd just sort of walk out of his door, or I'd get a fax saying, one last thing. He's like, don't F this up. But it's sort of slightly sinister, like Italian, don't fuck this. I'm like, no, okay.
And did you ever F it up?
Did I F it up?
Yeah.
Of course we all did. But I think we all do as A&R people. As long as you have wins, people, someone passed on the Beatles, but they signed the Rolling Stones, or I don't think it's worth having postmortems about what you didn't do. It should always be about what you did. So of course I've got that. He once said to me, he's like, you've had a great career, but you've kind of like, you've celebrated your success, but you've hidden your bodies well. So It's like, but I didn't have that many bodies, otherwise I wouldn't be here today. I always view my roster, if it wasn't making money inside a company, why would I, I wouldn't survive on the outside. So I always looked at my own roster and I knew it was making money. I knew it was successful. I mean, yeah, you got to think like that.
Yeah. And so SBK got bought by EMI. You went over there, and you had some amazing signings there. Amy Winehouse, Arctic Monkeys. I mean, that was a pretty good run.
Yeah, there's quite a few. Yeah, I'm a bit weird about it because I always I never want to reminisce too much, but you do when you get awards like this, I guess.
You win in the mix. You've got to do a bit of reminiscing.
It was Calvin Harris, it was Clean Bandit, it was Sean Paul, it was Slam Remy, very important, to my career, someone who is still a dear friend. I've just written Ina Kamose's Hot Stepper and Fuji La, and we became firm friends. I found him out in New York. Obviously, then Mark Ronson. It took me a few years to sign because his first album had a lot of samples on it, so there wasn't a lot to publish, but I persevered. So yeah, no, blessed, but I think the only reason I don't sort of talk about that so much is because it's always going to be about the thrill of the new. You don't want to live off the past. The worst thing in this industry is get complacent or go around and say, oh, I did this and I signed that, because success, a bit like our league win, we'll celebrate it for a few months and then it'll start all over again. Success, unfortunately, doesn't last that long these days, but I'm sure it will with Arsenal.
No Arsenal fan would want to be accused of over-celebrating a guy, would they? But
we're going to be unbearable. We really are.
Oh, well, at least I'm not in the same league. So EMI, as you say, it was successful in the publishing, but interesting time sort of at the wider company. We had Miles Leonard on the podcast a few weeks ago talking about the Terra Firma years. How were they for you?
It was wild. I mean, I got to say, as a spectator, because really the publishing company was solid and making money. We were the number one publisher, still worldwide at that time. So they were like, we'll get to you, but we need to fix the record company. I'm like, okay, don't rush getting to us. But to be fair, Guy Hands was always very good to me. Very bright guy. Ironically, for all the madness, he maybe had some of the ideas that were right at the time, but it was timing. If that had been 2 or 3 years later, it could have been a whole different ballgame, I think. But it was a little mad, I think, when you see people coming into the business that don't know the business, who aren't music people. I don't want to call out any names, but I think someone that ran a pharmaceutical company in Italy was our CEO for a while, and it was wild times, a lot of suits and a lot of explaining to people about the business constantly. I don't know, sometimes you just want to get on with it, but it was a shame because really EMI Records at the time was like incredible roster of artists, incredible. So how it went so wrong, I mean, really, you have to read that book, Killing the Pig or whatever it's called,
Yeah, definitely. So anyway, eventually you got bought by Sony. So you moved to
actually in between that there was I guess they call it a pre-pack back in the day, which I think meant you defaulted on your bank covenants or something. And I worked for Citibank. I was having dinners with heads of and they were nice guys, but they were at least honest to say, hey, look, we're not around for the long term, but steady the ship and whatever. Yeah.
And then so you ended up Sony ATV. Essentially carried on the success, back together with Marty over there as well, and that was another sort of pretty golden period for you, right?
I mean, again, as a byproduct, I just had the most incredible roster, and we were number one market share. I think we were at sort of 37 point something% chart share, and then the next year I had to present to the Japanese, and I think we were 36.8, and the only question I got was like, why is your market share down?
What happened to that 0.2%?
But yeah, it was obviously Ed was having an incredible run. We had Drake at the time. We had Lana Del Rey. Just an embarrassment of riches. But again, Martin inspired a real winning spirit. And actually, Mubadala and the Consuelo, just great guys, very supportive. I'm still in touch with a lot of them now. And I think when they bought the company at whatever multiple, it was like, yeah, right. And they thought they could exit at a 15 time. They'd be like, yeah, right. And of course it did. And the value of publishing has continued to go on from there. So again,
Yeah, good times. In fact, I remember interviewing you back when you were there, and you said that you would never think of working anywhere else. So obviously here you are. So,
I mean, 30 years is a long time.
Yeah.
Because it was uninterrupted from my days at SBK, and I don't see the need to move around. If you're doing well, if you sign great music and the numbers are okay, and they support you, they would allow me to just go off on random places to sign artists. So I had no need. I had a very supportive boss and a great team around me at the time, But the opportunity to become, CEO of a major publishing company, there's only really 3, although I don't love the term major still at the moment. But so it was a unique opportunity for me. At the time, I wasn't sure whether I would stay in London. Len Blavatnik at the time was like, "Oh, you're international, stay in London." Steve Cooper was like, "No, you're coming to LA." Yeah. And I took my wife there, who's hugely supportive of me. But I said, "Well, I don't know if you're going to like it." She hadn't really been in LA. I'd spent a lot of time there, and it rained all week. I'm like, "Oh, this is gonna," and it doesn't rain very often in LA. And she said, "Anyway, you know what? I really like it." And I was like, "Ah, okay." So, anything, taking on a new job, moving, challenging but rewarding, I think is the term. And there were definitely challenges, but I think we're all the richer for the experience. I don't forget my roots.
Still coming back here, unlike some of them, Guy.
I'm back every couple of months. It's still vital to my cultural and creative life force. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
yeah. And what's next? What's in the future?
Next job? I haven't got any plans.
I didn't mean that, but
what's next? I mean, I think it's always important to set new challenges. So, our board and Robert Kinzel and our CFO Armin want us to grow even more, and it's great to have that support. So we really
Would you like to be number one publisher?
I don't sit there aspiring, because we're not just mopping up market share or a point to become number one market share. I'd rather be known as the home of songwriters, great publisher, great publishing company, do a good job. And look, if that comes with market share gains, great, but I'll never chase it, because that's just shallow and that's not what we're about,
Yeah.
So that's what's next, and new challenges, obviously opening in India. I think there's other markets we'd like to look at. Not going into every market just because there's something you got to pick, where you put your money, where you put your presence. So we're mindful and thoughtful about that, and I never get bored, because it is always about the next great signing, the next deal, the next incredible songwriter you discover.
Are you still as excited as the business now as you were 40 years ago?
Yeah, absolutely. More, in some ways, more so. I mean, I guess the same. And I'm very excited, about some of the executives that I've worked with and seen and hopefully nurtured along the way. After a while, yes, it's exciting having breaking artists and new songwriters, but I think it's also important to nurture that next generation of executives. So I get a lot of satisfaction about seeing our executives being able to kind of like express themselves and empower them to be great. And there's a few notable ones, unfortunately, some that I left at the other company who are very good, but yeah, we're still good friends. But yeah, I think that's really important. I cherish that to today. And even with, Brits, music education, that's something I'm, in the broader sense, very passionate about.
Fantastic stuff. Well, thanks, Guy. Please stick around for latest or greatest, which is coming right up. And if you're enjoying The Money Trench, supported by Sandon and Tixel, please give us a rating or review on your podcast platform of choice, as it really does help us keep making this podcast. But now it's time for our quick fire round with our guest, Guy Moot of Warner Chappell. Guy, this is called Latest or Greatest. You can decide to talk about either the most recent or the all-time best music biz thing that you've experienced in these categories.
I mean, latest was seeing Ray last night.
Well, hold on, we haven't got to the gig section yet.
Oh.
So the latest or greatest record you've bought, that's what we start with. So
it's such a difficult one. I mean, the very first record I actually bought was the Clash London Calling.
Well, that's not a bad way to start.
I mean, that was, and you cherished it. Yeah, double album. Actually, the Police Regatta de Blanc around that time, which I think weirdly gave me my love of reggae, even though I was growing up in a provincial place. You didn't get a lot of reggae or Jamaican culture. So,
yeah. Fantastic. Well, that's a good solid start. So here we go. Latest or greatest gig or festival that you went to. So,
well, I mean, I just said it, didn't I? Ray last night was incredible. I mean, just the performance, the diversity of the show. There's a jazz section, there's a dance section, but just the way she commands the crowd. And again, she's been on an incredible artistic journey and gone out and done the work. You know, she's gone out. The American tour just looked punishing, but again, she's playing to people. She's just lights up the room, you know. So,
and obviously, she made a stand on where her career was going to go with her label.
Yeah, look, not every major label relationship, but I totally get where she was coming from. That she was being asked to make a certain type of album, and she was broader than that. And I think she showed that, she expressed it. I think sometimes you've got to listen to your artists, you know. I think you know, A&R, I always say when I sign someone, you've got to, I'll, you know, however big you get, I will try and, you know, be objective and give feedback. So that's a delicate balance, but I think she knew what she wanted, and she wanted to be viewed more as an artist and the breadth of her talent, and she's displayed that, and she's done it, and she's gone out and shown the world.
Yeah, seems to be working out pretty well. Your latest or greatest music biz boss?
I mean, it's got to be Marty Bandier. I've had some great bosses. I got some great bosses now, but for me, Marty was a mentor. And there's certain things, you know, when you're younger in life, there's certain people you meet or certain places where you just happen to find yourself, which have a huge effect on your life. And I say this to my own children now: go out, meet people, because you might just, you know, it's almost like that amplification of a sort of upside down pyramid of like, wow. So, yeah, I owe Marty a lot, still speak to him a lot. You know, he's a guy that encouraged you to win, but in a very nice way. So,
yeah. In fact, I think the heads of all three major publishers sort of learnt at the Marty Bandier finishing school. Right?
Yeah, we are. I respect them a lot. I mean, I work with John and Jody. I mean, we're all very different people, which makes it interesting as well. It's not a one-size-fits-all. I think we all respect each other over different backgrounds and different ways of doing things, but yeah, I respect them a lot. And Marty was, we all went through the Marty finishing school.
Great stuff. The latest or greatest mistake that you've made?
God, you make mistakes all the time. Well, most probably, I guess, the mistake I made on the farm that kind of got me fired at the time. Because
you got fired from the farm?
Well, kind of, they said redundant, but I think I was fired. The only time I think I've been fired in my whole career, but I mean, I think that sometimes, if that hadn't have happened, my whole trajectory could have been different. So,
what did you do? Can you confess it now, all these years later?
I was mixing something up that you meant to spray on a field, and it went horribly wrong. Okay. But, you know, there's other ones in music. I really regret not signing Portishead at the time, and I learned an important lesson because I didn't want to pay. I thought I'd looked at money like, wow, that's a lot of money, rather than what you could recoup or what somebody was worth. And I think my thriftiness, which I blame my late father for, I learned a big lesson because I was so passionate about that band at the time. And someone else signed it, and I thought, wow, I kind of almost like lived with them. I've been to every show, and somebody else just comes along, and it taught me a lesson, you know?
Yeah. Although I think Marty told me you once signed a stripper. Is that?
Yeah, I mean, I can't always vouch for people's background. I mean, there's a lot of music in those clubs, so I'm told. So, yes.
Okay.
It was actually with Marshall Jefferson, house music pioneer, but didn't quite go to plan. So.
Okay. Well, again, you seem to have survived.
God, you're pulling out a skeleton there, aren't you?
We do our research on TMT, guy. No, there's no secrets here. But how about the latest or greatest artist that you have worked with?
Well, talking about exciting new talent, and I don't know if you're meant to pick one, and it's very hard to do one. I mean, very excited about K1, who we just signed here in the UK. Excited about Little Grandad. You go round them off. We just signed
saw them the other night. All your team were there.
Yes, good. And there's a young lady we just signed called Chi, who's actually from my hometown of Cheltenham, but I'm on the wrong side of the tracks in Cheltenham. But I mean, and she's actually moved to LA, but she's going to be very exciting as well. So the music's like very special.
Okay, fantastic stuff. And the latest or greatest music industry party that you've been to?
I've been to quite a few parties in my time. I mean, you know, Jason and the Warner team put on a very good party. I remember some of those at Chiltern Firehouse, but I think the most memorable one I was thinking, you know, was most probably in 2015. I was in LA when Sam Smith won I think 4 Grammys on that night and going to his party, because you have the industry parties and then you have the party at the Grammys that everybody hears about. So I went to Sam's house and, Jack Street's house, and it was kind of like, it was one of those parties. It was LA, you had a view of LA, all the stars started turning out, Ed Sheeran turned up. It's just the merger, Sony takeover just happened. The first time I really got to chat with Ed, and all the stars turned up. There's something about LA does entertainment so well, and that was one of those nights. I think Piton was DJing. It was just one of those, it was great. I remember getting home very early in the morning thinking, wow, this is LA, this is what it's about. It does entertainment very well.
Yeah. Well, now you live there, you have one of those every night, presumably.
Well, I'm usually on the road. I kind of live there, but it seems like I'm on the move a lot. So
disappointing. And we can't let you go without giving us a new music tip. As one of the best A&Rs in the game, I'd imagine you're still listening to new acts all the time, despite
all the time. And not that I want to flood of them, unsolicited links and downloads, because I think it's our duty to listen and give feedback. And again, it's always an obligation and duty as an A&R person, I think, to give feedback and advice. And when I have done this, I've met quite a few people, a couple of years later, went like, yeah, you wrote back to me. You're one of the only guys that wrote back to me. I mean, you passed, but at least you were constructive. But I always remember you got back to me, and that's people's journeys. So, I mean, in terms of new artists, very excited about this Chi girl who we've signed, of her music. God, there's so many. It's a really hard one, Some of those I really mentioned before. I think there's a plethora of great young rock bands coming through in the UK as well that are very exciting. And yeah,
well, that's good to hear. Fantastic stuff, but that sadly is all we have time for. Big thank you to our guest, the legend that is Guy Moot. Thanks for
Thank you. Really enjoyed it.
The Money Trench, the music industry podcast with me, Mark Sutherland, is supported by Sound On and Tixel and in support of Earth%. It's produced by Tape Notes and exec produced by Mike Walsh, with huge thanks to Sennheiser, The Fourth Pillar, and our friends at Deviate Digital for our social media. The Money Trench music is by the brilliant Tom A. Smith, and to get in touch with us, please email mike@themoneytrench.com. It's another big music industry week once the bank holiday is behind us. Raw Power celebrates its 20th birthday. The Bridge Conference is on in Croatia. The Killers headline the Champions League halftime show. I'm sure Guy will be watching that. And there are big gigs for the likes of Tonight Alive, Girl in the Year Above, Marina, Doja Cat, Madison Beer, Any Young Mechanic, and Pink Pantheress. And I'll be saying, my name is Mark, and I'm really glad to meet you, to another top music biz guest, as we bring you another brand new episode of TMT on Monday, June the 1st. We will see you then. And Guy, see you back here in November for the Mits, if not before.
Look forward to it. Thank you.
Cheers.